Hey guys, MLJOR here, back with more Black Ops Cold War content, and today we're going to be doing another DMR loadout, this time for the last tactical rifle available in Black Ops Cold War at launch, the M16. But before we start, if you're part of that 80% that watches my videos and is still not subscribed, well, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button and turn your notifications on as I have more Black Ops Cold War content coming in the days ahead. Let's get into the video. As always, I want to make a habit of showing you guys my work. I really think this separates me from other YouTubers for two reasons. It's almost like the standard that I uphold myself with every weapon. And second, I actually use the weapon. As of the making of this video, I have just a little over 1,000 confirmed kills with the M16, double of what the sharpshooter badge requires. My M16 is maxed out, reaching those 55 levels earns me the marksman badge. And third, all camo challenges are completed, reaching the expert badge. These three combined will enter the rank of master for that specific weapon. These are not difficult by any means, but they are sure enough time to get to know the weapon, to make an educated opinion. That way, I can bring you guys the absolute best setup for your loadouts instead of clickbait. But that's enough talk. Let's get into the loadout. The M16 has been a staple within the Call of Duty franchise for quite some time. However, since Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare or Modern Warfare 2, I don't believe it has been this strong. Therefore, today's video, we're gonna have two loadouts. First, the best overall class setup, and second, my personal loadout. Do note that we have already had a DMR loadout for the M16. However, that was on the beta build of the game. So just like how we revisited the Type 63, consider this an updated version of the M16's best class setup. As always, there are three things that I look for in a DMR. That is reliability, accuracy, and speed. But first, we're going to look at the base stats for this weapon. The M16 has a damage profile of 50 and 40. And just like the AUG, the M16 is a 3 to 4 shot kill, with a rate of fire of 909 rounds per minute. However, this is within the burst. You will still get a burst delay of 235 milliseconds. This is something that was nerfed with the last weapon balancing update, and that's just one of the many reasons that we're here revisiting this weapon. This means that the M16's time to kill is breakneck fast at just 132 milliseconds. With that being said, this is the shortest time to kill of any weapon, apart from one-shots and snipers. The M16 does have a headshot multiplier of 1.4, bringing those damages up to 70 and 56. That means that you'll require at least 3 headshots to secure the kill. In other words, headshots on the M16 are useless unless you have a damage boosting barrel. The M16 has an effective damage range of 21.5 meters, dropping up to the second damage value at 38 meters. Finally, going into our handling stats, our sprint to fire or sprint out speed is 250 milliseconds, and our aim down sight time is 350 milliseconds. I've said this before in my other DMR loadouts, and that is that the tactical rifles have a slower handling stat than both the SMGs and assault rifles. The average SMG will aim down sight in 275 milliseconds, and the average assault rifle does it in 300 milliseconds. So from the start, tactical rifles are a whole 3 frames slower. So if we want to keep up, we gotta catch up. Hey guys, Editing Kate here, and I just want to pop in and let you know that with the Season 1 update, the M16 received 2 different nerfs. One of them to its burst delay, from the previous stated 235 milliseconds to 260 milliseconds, making it less forgiving if you miss your shots. The second nerf is to the damage range. I've tested this multiple times, and there is no change. Therefore, this will be coming with a future hotfix. This doesn't affect I recommend the loadouts. Those are still accurate and ready to dominate when you are. Last thing to mention, if you want to catch up on all the weapon balancing for the tactical rifles, check out my DMR news video. The link will be in the top right hand screen. Now, I'll let the Major finish the rest. As always, mission dictates gear. And first on the list is reliability. Now, with the M16, reliability is near perfect. There's very little we can do when it comes to reliability, which makes this section so much more important, because you could only fuck this up. Any fire rate boosting barrel will increase the speed within the burst, but it won't affect the burst delay. In turn, it will kill your range. This will make the M16 be a 2 burst more often than not. Therefore, stay away from the fire rate boosting barrels, Bobby. You're not shooting faster, it's just placebo. So for our choice, we're going to be going with a 20.5 inch Task Force barrel, increasing our damage by 14% from 50 all the way up to 57. This barrel will also increase our effective damage range by 50%, from 21.5 meters up to 32.3 meters. And finally, it will increase our bullet velocity by a massive 50%, from 725 meters per second up to 1087 meters per second. This barrel does come with a massive hit to both our vertical and horizontal recoil, but we'll get back to that later. Something I want you to keep in mind is that this barrel doesn't reduce the amount of bullets it takes to kill. The damage boost doesn't even help with our second damage range. The reason why we're using this barrel is for both the effective damage range boost and the bullet velocity increase. Next up, it's accuracy. Taking a look at the M16 base recoil pattern, as you can see, it does have a substantial amount of recoil. It starts off with a slight deviation to the right and then hard cuts left. Now remember that a 20.5-inch task force barrel doesn't really help in that department. Taking a look at our current recoil pattern, I don't know how, but somehow or some way, this barrel actually makes it a tiny bit more accurate. The second bullet is closer to the first, and then it sends the third bullet flying to the top right left. This is a better recoil pattern than the base in my personal opinion. Still pretty bad, but better nonetheless. And we're going to fix this with a field agent grip, reducing our horizontal recoil by 40%, taking our horizontal recoil variable from a negative 92 joules down to a negative 60 joules. The agent field grip will also reduce our vertical recoil from 468 joules down to 429 joules. For those of you who don't know, recoil in Cold War works off an X and Y axis, with Y being vertical and X being horizontal. The higher the number on the Y axis, the more your gun will kick up. Meanwhile, on the X axis, if the number is negative, it will kick to the left, and if it's positive, it will kick to the right. For our next attachment, we'll be using the agency silencer, losing out on the entire bullet velocity that we just gained from the barrel, and in turn, keeping us off the radar, allowing us to operate without being detected. The agency silencer will also give us a 15% boost to our vertical recoil control, taking our vertical recoil variable from 429 joules to 370 joules. Meanwhile, reducing our muzzle velocity from 1097 meters per second down to 870 meters per second, which is still a bit faster than the base. Something I highly discourage you to do is to add any silencers to any weapon without having any bullet velocity increasing attachment to counteract the effects, especially when talking about burst rifles and submachine guns. Whenever you pull that trigger, you're launching a 3-round burst, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. No recoil control, no drop shot, no jump shot, no wall running, boost jumping, nothing. Once those bullets leave the gun, there's only one thing that will determine whether you're gonna hit your mark or not, and that is bullet velocity. Reducing it to a screeching halt will result in the enemy having more time to get out of the path of the burst. Speeding it up will make your burst tighter, meaning that all 3 bullets will hit the mark. And this is what our new recoil pattern looks like. Not as bad as I would like, but for most ranges, this should be fine. Last on the list is speed, and as always, we'll be deploying our tag team solution for this. First up is the airborne elastic wrap, giving us a whopping 30% boost to our aim down sight time from 350 milliseconds down to 245 milliseconds for a massive 6.5 frame difference. It will also give us a 90% flinch resistance. This is not as important as in previous Call of Duties, because Black Ops Cold War doesn't actually have flinch. Your point of aim doesn't really move. What happens is that you get some screen effects and some camera shakes. But less of a bad thing, no matter how insignificant it is a win in our book. For our cons, we'll be taking a hit to our shooting strafing speed by 15%, from 5.69 miles per hour down to 4.67 miles per hour. Also, we take another hit to our sprint to fire, from 425 milliseconds to 498 milliseconds. In my book, the sprint to fire speed is just as important as the aim down sight time. Usually, I'm zipping around the map, playing it close to the chest. You know, major snake shit. Therefore, our next attachment is the radar pad, bringing our sprint to fire back in line with a 30% boost from the previous 488 milliseconds down to 360, making us 128 milliseconds or a whopping 8 frames faster. The radar pad will also come with an aim walking boost from 3.28 miles per hour up to 4.59 miles per hour, and a heavy hit to a hipfire spread by 30%. But like I always say, if you have to hipfire a DMR, well, you might actually win this one. The M16 straight up broken. And this is what our final M16 looks like. Thank you, McNamara. We owe you for this one. This is not the end, however. Now it's time for me to give you my personal M16 loadout. We're going to be borrowing both the airborne elastic wrap and the radar pad from our previous loadout, as this is the only way to put the M16 into gear. For our third attachment, we're also going to be taking the field agent grip, due to its undisputed horizontal recoil control. Now, for the barrels, we'll be switching from the 20.5 task force to the 20.5 match grade. The reason why we're switching is because even though the 20.5 inch task force barrels looks promising, it does offer some heavy downsides in terms of recoil. Instead, with the 20.5 inch match grade, we now have double the range from 21.6 meters to 43.1 meters. With that boost, it means that we can easily navigate the map, keeping this weapon in its massive one burst kill range. Even though we lose most of velocity compared to our previous loadout, it ends up being almost the same if we choose not to put a silencer on this one. Difference being that my personal setup has a muzzle velocity of 725 meters per second, when compared to the best overall setup, it has 870 meters per second. Now, for our last attachment, we'll be ditching the silencer and using the infantry compensator for a 25% boost to our vertical recoil control and a minor hit to our horizontal. Our vertical recoil variable will go from 429 joules down to 331 joules, and our horizontal recoil variable will get bumped up from a negative 60 joules up to a measly negative 68 joules. Taking a look at a new recoil pattern, it's all slapping center mass. And this is what my personal M16 looks like. The triple tap trifecta laser pulsar beam. Well, there you have it. As for my thoughts on this weapon, I think it's broken. I also think the AUG is broken, and nonetheless, I slightly prefer the M16 over the AUG for the fact that I personally like iron sights better. However, I am guilty of cheating on the M16 with the AUG on maps that require a higher level of visibility, like Satellite. But we'll be diving more into comparing the two in our up-and-coming Versus series. So hit the subscribe button and turn your notifications on to get notified when those videos go live. But now, it's time for me to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about the M16? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the episode of the DMR Loadout series and want me to cover another weapon, leave your recommendation down in the comment section below. As of right now, I am currently working on the best setup for some alternative DMRs within Black Ops Cold War. More on that later. So hit the subscribe button to get notified when that video goes live. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitch. The link will be down in the description below. As always, a like rating is always appreciated. Also, check out the DMR Loadout. We have every tactical rifle from Cold War and the majority from Modern Warfare. Well, that's all for me today. I'm MLJOR, and I thank you for watching.